Hey guys, Chris Story here. Today I'm going to cover the mid-season drafts and I'm going to talk about the big opportunity. So, what do I mean by big opportunity? Well, the rookie draft historically has had an incredible number of draft relevant ruckmen, and over the years, the rookie ruckmen have actually turned out to be some of the very, very best ruckmen. And I've actually found of the great ruckmen, more have come as rookies than in any other part of the draft. So it's a part of the draft where there's great opportunities with the right talent identification. And in this year's draft, there's actually four ruckmen, or in this year's mid-season draft, four ruckmen. They were draft eligible last year, but because there was no season that went ahead, well, we didn't get to see them. So with another sort of, I guess, pre-season of development, all four of these guys have come up as viable prospects. So you've got Jacob Edwards firstly. So again, I've mentioned this in a previous video, but we'll have to see whether he does nominate for the mid-season draft because he might just choose to put his name in for the national draft. And that would be completely his choice. So if he goes into the national draft, my early estimation would be that he could be a second rounder. Maybe he pushes for the first round if he continues his development, has a really good season, but he could also possibly push a little below the second round. So we'll have to wait and see there if he does take that route. But let's assume he does enter the mid-season draft. Well, he's probably pick one, and he's someone where not only is he a good ruckman, but he can actually go forward of centre, kick a couple of goals. That's what he's been doing in his games for Sandringham so far, where he's been splitting his time ruck forward, kicked a couple of goals in at least two, if not three of his games so far. So yeah, look, he provides a scoreboard impact. He's a very capable ruckman, so absolutely he's one to watch. You've got Ned Moyle for Oakley. So he actually appeared in the AFL Academy versus Geelong VFL match. And again, very competitive ruckman. So possibly doesn't necessarily have the traits as much around the ground, but a good tap ruckman, and he's shown some traits where perhaps there's some scope to develop. But he was very competitive in the ruck in that match, and at 205 centimeters, there's some scope to develop there. Liam Pajatsky, so his older brother Mitch was actually draft eligible a few years ago, and he could actually be another player, funnily enough, in the mid-season draft mix as a tall midfielder who can push forward and take a grab. But with Liam, he's a very strong-bodied ruckman, but yeah, can take a grab, very competitive through the ruck. So again, someone else where maybe he's a shot. And then Max Heath. So he was a draft fancy sort of last year. He was well and truly in the mix. And again, he's considered to be in the mix in the mid-season draft. So here what we've got four players who have some scope to develop as ruckman. And as a cheap sort of, I guess, type where it's not going to take much. You don't need to spend a high pick. You don't have to pay them a lot of money, and you can allow them to develop for a number of years in your program with the knowledge that ruckmen around the age of sort of 24, 25, 26, that's when they really tend to come into their own. So at age 18, 19, look, you can't expect anything at this point. So it's really just a draft and stash sort of concept whenever you're taking ruckman. But if we look ahead at the history of some of the great ruckmen to come out of the rookie draft, well, it really speaks as to the possibilities. So what I've found in researching the drafts over the years, and I've just started with an ambiguous number of 1999. From roughly my viewers from then on, drafting was at least a reasonable level and has continued to get better. So and of course, the 1999 draft was quite a strong one, to say the least. And so was 2000, so was 2001. So I didn't want to miss out on those great drafts because you got some incredible ruckmen. But even since, we've also had some really good, capable ruckmen come out. So I wanted to put forward some of these names. So, and you'll find actually that if you go through these names, really most of them are quite a lot better than those that went early and even sort of mid-draft as well. So and by position, there has been no position more successful in the rookie draft than ruckman. So that's one thing to be aware of when you actually go through the names and compare those to go in the national draft versus those to go in the rookie draft. So it's a high percentage play, and this year is a big opportunity because there are so many worthwhile considerations that really have put their name forward as, I guess, worthwhile considerations. So from those four names, it's possible that we have some additions to this list in the future of potentially really good ruckmen who in some way or another have been picked as rookies, even if it is like a mid-season rookie draft as opposed to the end of season rookie draft. So to go through some of these names, so Dean Brogan, so he actually came from a basketball background and so he was picked as a rookie and obviously had a fantastic career for Port Adelaide. So one of the really good ruckmen, hard to not include him on this list. So you got Dean Cox, one of the all-time great ruckmen that can't really be disputed, and some might have him pretty close to the top. So, and that'd be very reasonable to do. So, and not only a great ruckman, like you could have even played him as a key position player, tall wing, just so mobile, but then obviously had the ruck craft to go with it. Great mark, had so many weapons there. And then Darren Jolly, so premiership player with Sydney, premiership player with Collingwood. So really good ruckman, and he really solidified that 2010 Collingwood team and really took them over the edge along with Luke Ball at that time. So really good ruckman for a long time there. Mark Jamar, probably a surprising name to some in that not all of his career was strong, but he was an All-Australian ruckman and did have a few really good years there. So that absolutely requires acknowledgement there. Aaron Sandilands, one of the great ruckmen, and really along with Cox, he was really that, I guess, main competitor to Cox for that crown as the number one ruckman in the competition. So when we're talking about this caliber of player, this is really the point I'm trying to drive home, where the opportunities in terms of rookie rucks have been absolutely phenomenal over the years. Then we did have a few years of break where we didn't have great ruckman. We still had a few here and there, but I really wanted to, I guess, focus on those very best ones rather than just pick out every ruckman who had a career. So Sam Jacobs. So obviously one of the very good ruckmen for a very long time. They're only recently retired, but rookie drafted by Carlton, traded to Adelaide, then really took on the reins as that Adelaide number one ruck and really had a great career there. So really requires acknowledgement. Shane Mumford, obviously, he came into the system overweight, but really got himself trim, and he was really impactful. So, and again, when the likes of Cox and the likes of Sandilands were at the top of their game, well, Mumford really sort of, I guess, a few years on into the system, particularly once he'd moved to Sydney, and even with GWS in those early years there, he was a dominant player and really someone who made the whole midfield better. So again, having that caliber of player where, look, he was competitive with any ruckman in the competition. You could even have him in contention for the best ruckman in the comp for a few years there in his prime. So he was on that level. So having that level of player again really drives home the point. Braden Preuss, look, he probably shouldn't be on this list at this point, but is someone I speculate will become good, but he just needs to get healthy. So that's the key there. But look, I'm speculating he could at some point or another sort of, I guess, catch on and be good. Riley O'Brien, so great pick there for Adelaide as a rookie. So, and one of the better ruckmen in the competition now. For me, he's a top 5 ruck in the competition and deservedly. So, particularly on the back of his form last year. Probably hasn't quite been up to that level this year, but look, he's still a very good ruckman. Not only is he competitive in terms of as a tap ruckman, but winning his own ball, covers a lot of ground and really has an impact, so he's really good. But then in 2016 as well, just to drive home the point that there are still those rookie opportunities. So Sam Draper, he's going to be Essendon's number one ruckman for a long time. I'm speculating, health permitting. So I think he'll be a really good ruckman, could even be the best of this bunch potentially, all things said and done. Peter Laddams, he's been a really good ruckman for Port Adelaide when he gets his minutes. Obviously, he's behind Scott Lysette as that sort of, I guess, depth ruckman, sometimes in, sometimes out of the team, but he could be a genuine number one ruckman for a team. So I've really got quite a amount of respect for him. So Rowan Marshall, for me, is one of the premier ruckmen. You've got Gawn, Grundy, Nick Nat. They're the top, really, 3 ruckmen in the comp at this point, but Rowan Marshall would be that clear number 4 for me at this stage. So probably have Todd Goldstein nearing him in that mix, but no, I'm a real sort of Marshall fan. Obviously, his numbers last year, this year, when sort of you've got Ryder in the team as well, it has impacted him, but certainly in 2019 when he was that solo ruckman, well, he was playing phenomenal footy. So really deserves acknowledgement as a top 5 in the comp ruckman because he's fantastic. And then you've also got Oscar McInerney. So solid ruckman for Brisbane, a genuine number one, not necessarily a top 10 ruckman in the comp, but is someone where, again, solid number one, you can have him as your rucks. So with these sorts of names, I guess big point is you've got a big opportunity with a lot of these ruckmen, and if you give them the time and opportunity to develop, you don't really necessarily have to take them early in the draft. You can use a rookie draft pick to take them. And you find often as well with, say, mature age general defenders, they tend to translate pretty well. So there's a few positions here or there that you can take a rookie player and they're pretty high percentage picks and quite often work out. And my personal view in having looked back at all these drafts past is that the highest upside comes in the ruck. If you're taking a player in the rookie draft, the highest potential for upside comes in the ruck, where going through all those years, you don't get that caliber of player with the same frequency playing any other position. So that's why I'm looking at this mid-season draft as the big opportunity. Thanks for watching, guys, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like and subscribe and hit the notification bell for future updates. And let me know in the comments section below, who's the best rookie ruckman taken ever? Is it Dean Cox, Aaron Sandilands? Is it Shane Mumford? Or could maybe a Sam Draper perhaps overtake them? I'd be interested to hear. Anyway, see you in the next video.